What is going on, ladies and gents? Andrew, a Riddler Reptiles, you know the deal. We are here for episode 4 of Riddler's Rambles. Now, it has been a little bit of a delay between episodes. All sorts going on, plenty going on. As you can hear, I'm still not 100% in myself as well, but that's the time of year. But anyway, we move on. The hair is growing back, but again, we're not here for that. But yeah, really looking forward to this one because this is a topic that's very close to my heart and what I enjoy doing as well. Before I introduce our guest today and get on with it, firstly, a shout out to the patrons. Appreciate you all. If you want to join, the link will be in the description, and there's all sorts of different things. Your name will be on Ragnar's Enclosure. You get discount on merch, early access, blah 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 blah. Things like that you can find out if you're interested. Anyway, let's introduce today's guest, who is Jamie from Norwich Reptile Shed. What's going on, Jamie? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Yeah, it's as I was saying before this, it's that time of year where we're all bunged up and cold, but we power through it, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Getting ready for the Christmas carnage and all that stuff.
Yeah. Always good fun, apparently. We are here to talk reptiles, and obviously one of my favourite subjects is DIY builds in the reptile hobby, which, looking behind you,
I've done a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
I mean, before we get into all of that, obviously the first question I like to ask or open with is how did you get into reptile keeping in the first place?
Yeah, so I basically I pin it down to my parents when I was younger.
Okay.
Obviously, I was into dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff as a kid. But my parents did have some reptiles. They had a corn snake and some leopard geckos when I was growing up. So I don't really remember particularly going out of my way to ask for an animal or anything like that. But I did just get into keeping snakes without even really remembering exactly how it came about. I do remember going out and my parents buying me my first snake, which was a grey banded king snake.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And then this sort of menagerie of stuff built up in my bedroom, and fire-bellied newts and some frogs and stuff like that. And then that's how I basically got into keeping stuff. And then as I became, I suppose, a bit more of a working adult and all that sort of stuff, that sort of side of things died off a bit until I really kind of basically found my feet, got comfortable, and I started volunteering for an animal sanctuary. And that's basically where it blew up for me. I got sort of surrounded again by all the reptiles and the whole hobby and stuff like that. So just started building stuff up. Things started coming home with me from the animal sanctuary. I then did a bit of film work with some animals with a friend of mine. So we've done some films, and got some jobs as sort of part time as a working in a sea life centre as a reptile keeper. Nice. And it just sort of it exploded from almost nothing, really, I suppose. Yeah. After sort of it went up as a child and then dipped back down, and then it's just sort of I suppose it's boomed now. Although I'm not actively buying animals and breeding animals, that isn't really what Norwich Reptile Shed is about. I'm sure we'll dive into that. But the whole basically trying to recreate what I love about reptile keeping really is displaying the animals in a real kind of big naturalistic way, similar to how you'd maybe see them in a zoo or reptile house. And that's where Norwich Reptile Shed came from, because it was always my passion to really kind of give these animals, which most of them are rescues, ex-pets, some of them are ex-zoo and stuff like that. And then just basically give them a good retirement. So I thought I'd film the process, try and help people out along the way. There wasn't much people in the UK, I suppose, doing DIY stuff, so information is a bit harder to come by. That seems to be a lot of what the comments are about and stuff. People saying, thanks for doing this in the UK with UK brands and measurements and units of measurements and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically where Norwich Reptile Shed came from as well. So yeah, that's how it all started, and that's where we are now, really.
Excellent. So what animals do you currently keep at the moment then?
So it's mainly snake heavy,
Okay.
and this never really changes. This is the snakes I've got. There's no plan to move them on or do anything. But I suppose starting from this end to that end, so I keep 2 species of boiga.
Nice.
I keep boiga cynodon and boiga cynea. So that's the dogtooth cat snake and the green cat snakes. I have a pair of green cat snakes and 1 baby. It's not really a baby anymore that I keep as well. So I've got 3 green cat snakes. And then we've got Mr. Pine, he's kind of like my famous guy. He's my northern pine snake. And then above him in that one is Ty, my Taiwanese beauty snake. And then I've got 2 false water cobras. I took them in as a pair, and they're now separate. But I do have one of their babies as well from when I bred them years ago. And yeah, I've got Mr. Pine's baby from because I used to have a pair of northern pine snakes. The female passed away, but I did breed them years and years ago. And then my friend asked me to take if I would take one of the babies back a few years later, and I did. So now I've got 2 pine snakes. And then I've got the Royal Pythons. They're pretty famous, I suppose, in their vivarium, which we could obviously talk about later. But yeah, two normal Royal Pythons that are extremely spoiled. And what else have we got? I've got a corn snake as well that was found in a friend's kitchen
nice.
years and years ago. So that just came to live with us and has never left. And then lizard-wise, we've got a 15-year-old bearded dragon. That was like a rescue. Took him in. I pretty much thought we would get 1 more year out of him, but he's exceeded that so far. So I'm not even sure if he's 15 anymore. Couple of leopard geckos, again very spoiled. They're probably that's the newest build I think that I've put out on the channel. So
that was a good one. That one I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm just about to put them in brumation actually, but yeah, that was really cool. So we've got 2 leopard geckos. What we got? Standing's day gecko, a tortoise, Daisy, Herman's tortoise, couple of cresties, and some inverts really, centipedes, centipedes and scorpions and tarantulas. Yeah. It doesn't sound mad, does it, until you start listing stuff, and then you go, oh man, how the hell do I keep on top of that?
So at that point you go, wait, all these people that tell me I've got too many animals, maybe they're onto something. And then you go,
definitely.
Nah, actually, no, they're not. Nah, of course they're not.
And we can just about manage. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Oh, and I've got the crocodile skink. I shouldn't forget about the crocodile skink. That guy's famous. That is like number 1. Every time I don't know if you look at like YouTube recaps or anything like that. It's always my top searches are crocodile skink. And I haven't put a crocodile skink video out for like 2 years.
Wow.
And it's always crocodile skink. But I look at her and I'm like, I think so. Yeah, I look at her and I'm like, I've got nothing to film. Like, apart from her being completely like hand tame and comes out onto my arm and eats and runs back in, which is really cool. But it's cool. Like, that's the one trick, you know? So how many times do I film that? I get a bit bored myself of watching that. So, people keep searching for crocodile skinks, but they're not going to find many new videos at the moment.
See, that's cool. I like that because I've got a similar thing. I did a video on like a roughneck care guide. I think it was this February just gone, and every single week without fail on the YouTube analytics is top 3.
Oh really?
No ifs or buts about it. Even if I've done some shorts, even if I've done a live stream, whatever it is, it's always top 3, always, which is good and bad because it shows obviously it's doing really well. It's in the search, blah, 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 and all that. But there are things that I could have done better, which I'm hoping to do soon. Because it's like every time I see that it's still in there, I'm like, but I could do better now. I could do more. Like I've made my husbandry better, my keeping better.
Yeah.
I understand the animal more. So, you know, it keeps going. I'm just like, right, hopefully the next one does just as well.
Oh
But
man, yeah, definitely, and that's what it's all about as well, isn't it? And
mm,
it's doing the new videos based on what you've learned and all that sort of
mm,
stuff. I did it even as simple as a corn snake one. I did a video where I basically the same vivarium, I pulled it all apart and I'd rebuilt it again, and I did a real simple video how to just do a naturalistic corn snake build. And yeah, it got like a couple of thousand views, and it got shared by some real like good names and people
nice.
saying this is how you should keep corn snakes. And I'm like, I
Hmm.
didn't even want to do that video because I knew
Yeah,
I'd done one a year before, and I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
what's the point in even doing another one? I've already done one. But yeah, it's
It
definitely
seems
worth
to be those
coming
ones that
back.
do the best.
Yeah,
Like it's always the
yeah.
ones where you're like, do I really want to put that one? Like to be fair, the Roughneck Care Guide, I was like, I don't know if I want to put this out because I don't know if people can take me seriously as like someone offering care advice and things like that. I was like, but if it helps people, I've done my research, I've had this animal for however long and blah blah blah. All right, maybe I'll put it out. It
Mm.
is the best performing video I've ever put out. So it's always the way. And then you get others, you're like, this one is going to slap. This is going to bang. This is going to break the internet. This is my breakthrough. So I
Yeah,
did a 1v1 enclosure setup challenge with my brother-in-law, with Jacob. And I was like, it's got the word challenge in it. It's got the word 1v1 in it. It's got enclosure. It's got all the keywords in it. This is going to slap. It just didn't. it just didn't. It did okay, but I was expecting like, pew, and it just,
yeah.
yeah, just
Oh
didn't
man,
happen.
I used to think that all the time. I used to, go through a video, absolutely love it, and go, this one is the one. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
This is gonna win the YouTube reptile hobby over, and I'm gonna. And it's like, no, it didn't. No, it
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, yeah.
No one cares. Just keep building 4x2s. That's all that people care about.
And the funny thing is, I was literally about to say the video that I've seen the most of yours, whether it's recommended or, I mean, I've watched it a couple of times, is the like step by step how to build a 4x2x2.
Yeah,
Now I can only imagine the amount of people that have typed into YouTube how to build a 4x2x2. Mate, class.
yeah,
And to
yeah,
be
yeah,
fair,
yeah.
like I say, I've watched it and I've planned, in actual fact, I've got a build that I was going to start today at time of recording. But I was too busy doing other stuff. You know how the way it is, you start one job and then all of a sudden you get distracted.
Mm,
And I've based that, it's a bit smaller than a 4x2x2, but I've based it on the way you did your 4x2x2. So
cool. Yeah.
I can only imagine the amount of times that people have seen it and have gone, yeah, and have followed it, and it's really good, man. It is. It's
Cheers,
you've
man.
tapped into a nice little market there, and I've not. Well, I've sort of. The problem is, I'll tell you what. I was about to say I've not really built Vivs that much. I built this entire 8-foot Viv for Ragnar, right? Unfortunately, this was before I was on YouTube.
Yeah, I built the
So
shed before I did it on YouTube
yeah,
as well.
I
Yeah,
didn't film a thing.
yeah,
I've got pictures because I liked doing a little step, like a little, almost to see how it developed. And then I started the YouTube, and I was like,
yeah.
there's an entire 8-foot build here that I could have done. But anyway, I mean, you never know. In the future, I might be building a little, you know what I mean? So,
Very nice.
possibly.
Oh, mate, I did exactly the same thing. So I even crossed my mind to like film or time lapse building the shed, because I think I probably get asked more questions about how to build a shed than I do
Yeah.
like how to care or build stuff for reptiles.
Yeah.
Almost weekly I'm answering like questions about insulation and stuff like that,
Yeah.
And I just the only way I could do a video when I first started the channel was to just go back and do it like a slideshow, and that was never going to be as good. But I built the shed. I built these Boiga Vivs behind me, so they're all like custom 5 foot tall, 3 foot wide, 3 foot deeps.
Nice.
And the royal vivariums right at the back. I built all of that with the rock work as well. I built all of that before I decided I'd do a YouTube video. And I actually filmed while I was doing the rock work for the royal vivarium. Obviously, it was technically my first. I'd done a practice piece of faux rock on a 3 foot viv, but really hadn't nailed down any technique. So I was like, I might film it, I might not. I might start a YouTube channel about it, I might not. So I filmed myself from a really bad angle, really far back, and I looked at it and went, "Oh man, that's rubbish. You're never going to do that." Like, and so it just never happened. And until I literally just one day decided I'd just do a little bit of patching up, and I was like, "Right, okay, yeah, I'm going to do YouTube videos about this now." Okay. So yeah, that was all built well before that. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing the YouTube videos for?
How long have I think it's about 2 years now.
Right, I do. That's right.
Yeah, I'll just double check actually, because that's quite interesting, isn't it? Let me see if I've got it here on my phone. It does tell you, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. The first video. Where's that? The first video was really bad.
They always are.
I know, they're terrible. I watch it as a bit of a joke. Yeah, it says 2 years ago. So yeah, been doing it for 2 years. Nice. Only really the last few videos I've sort of managed to do this sort of YouTube videos by the skin of my teeth. Really, I used to do it all on my phone, edit it all on my phone, film it all on my phone. I still use my phone for filming, but and I've got friends that, you know, edit videos for a living, and they're like, how do you do it on your phone? And when I did that was the challenge, was the 4x2x2 build. That's obviously quite a big video with loads of footage in it and all that stuff, and I just did it all on my phone, just literally trying to like use my little finger to do that. And so now I've used my Patreon money and some YouTube money and created a little edited suite. And I think that shows in the videos. Actually, the videos have got slightly better quality. And I can, I can, not looking for a phone screen every time. So that is good. But yeah, about 2 years. The shed is 3 years old. Okay. But the YouTube channel started, after I built quite a lot of the big stuff already.
Yeah. It's funny because like I started filming on a camera because I do some photography in my spare time as well. And then I was editing it on the laptop. And then I was like, this laptop isn't quick enough to do video editing. So I got a PC and I was doing it on that. My problem, and I will hold my hands up and admit this, is laziness. Because by the time you get it from the USB onto the PC, and if you get time on the PC, you got to do that and then export it. And then I started filming on my phone. Premiere Rush is on my phone. I actually ended up getting a new phone specifically so that I had more storage on said phone. So that it kept doing that thing of not enough storage to upload and then do this and that. So I ended up getting bigger storage. But it's just so easy and convenient to film, all of this and set it up on a tripod and then just import it into Rush and do it all then. And I can sometimes do it like. I can sometimes do it on my lunch break at work.
Yeah. That's what I was doing. It was a bit more sociable. I could sort of sit in the lounge and do it, quite quietly with my wife watching TV. And now I've made it a little bit more antisocial, and now I go and sit in the shed. But to be fair, I'm starting to see animals during the evening that I would be sitting in the lounge watching TV at this time instead of being outside watching stuff sort of move about. Although it's a little bit more antisocial, it's quite nice actually to be out here. But I used to enjoy just editing videos, just laying on my bed with my headphones and on my phone. But since having the edited suite, I've discovered a few things like voiceovers and B-roll and stuff that I just couldn't do on my phone very easily. So
Nice. I probably will end up going back to laptop or PC in the future, maybe. Like I say, at the minute, it's just too easy to do it on the phone. Yeah. Like I say, it's like you say, you can be in bed. Like for example, the missus, she don't half watch some shit on Netflix. I tell you what, but I'll go up like later than her. She'll go, "Oh, this has only got 20 minutes left," and I'll just go, "No worries." Do that, put the headphones on, sat there editing. But then what she'll do, she'll go, "Right, it's all done now," and I'll go, "Do you want to watch another one?" Nice. Do you enjoy the filming and the editing and the actual process of it all? Because I know some people don't. Like I do. I really enjoy the whole process. But do you like it?
I wouldn't say it's my passion. I keep thinking that I really like it. And then when I'm actually sitting down editing, I'm a bit like, oh God, I don't really want to do this anymore. And like, I'm really not like into this to try and make it the best thing ever and like really learn every detail of Da Vinci and how every single bit works and all that stuff. Even now, I've got to like the audio stage and just go, do you know what? And I'm a drummer. I'm not. I was going to say musician, but I'm a drummer. I get to like the audio bit and go, oh, that'll do. That's fine.
Yeah.
That'll do. But photography and stuff like that's never been my thing. But I've always enjoyed filming stuff. So yeah, I think I don't hate it. Otherwise I wouldn't do it because there's not much else.
Yeah, of course.
You don't get tons and tons out of doing a really quite a small YouTube channel. So I kind of enjoy it most days. Yeah. But oh sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say I've never got into filming and photography like my friends that do this professionally. They've all got really nice cameras and all this stuff. I've never got into that, and that's never been a hobby. I just don't have enough room for any other hobbies. So I've never had anything good to film with. It's always been a phone. So the photography side of things isn't particularly my hobby, that's for sure.
And then is it, because obviously you're saying it's something that you like but not, and then this, sometimes you enjoy it, sometimes the whole YouTube thing, is it something you are aiming to take off, like that you're hoping will become like almost like life-changing, or do you literally just do it for fun as a hobby and whatever happens?
I think it will just be fun because there's a limited amount of things I can do out here. Obviously you've got all the big American guys that can fill their yards up with enclosures and do all this, but I am stuck, same as you, I suppose. We're kind of stuck in a space that is only so big. So at some point in the future, it's going to get to the point where I'm like, right, I'm redoing this vivarium. I can understand if you're not going to watch it because I've already done it 5 times. So I have no plans for Norwich Reptile Shed to ever be like take over my job. I actually quite enjoy my job. I'm an engineer. I enjoy going out and doing heavy engineering. But
nice. Okay.
I don't mind as long as it's nice that I think I just enjoy kind of helping people with the whole DIY aspect and the size aspect. Kind of showing people how to do it, how to build vivariums, but also secretly making people build the biggest vivariums possible for their animals and using a lot of enrichment and stuff like that. That's what I'm doing it for. And I know it will never pay me a wage. But it might just take a little chunk off the electricity bill in the future. You never know.
They'll end up paying for themselves, won't they? Like whatever.
You never know.
Using.
I mean, it's just coming this month. It ain't YouTube ain't gonna pay for that one.
It's got a little bit more catching up to do at the moment. Yeah. Tell me about it. Bloody life, especially this time of year, like we say, like because we've got solar panels as well. So on the smart meter, on a sunny day, you can see the difference. However, on a day like today, when I woke up and it was raining, and I was having lunch and it was raining, and I was having dinner and it was raining, and I was putting the baby to bed and it was raining. I'm not even sure if the sun came out today. I almost feel like I was living in Norway. Do you know what I mean? Like the sun hasn't come out. And then you sort of walk past the smart meter and go, oh, Jesus Christ. And you're like, maybe
it's not good.
Maybe it's not worth it. But
and I mean, a lot of my snakes are going into brumation this weekend. So I've got all the big vivariums are pretty much turned off. So I don't even know how I'm burning electricity at the moment. But I'm going for it, apparently. Just, use it as much as I can. But the whole brumation thing, although it's it's a bit sad in here. It's there's not much life in here anymore. Everything's a bit quiet. After last year and coming into this year, I'm definitely kind of looking forward to maybe a couple of months with these big guys turned off. So that would be nice.
So obviously one of the points I wanted to pick up on, so you said obviously you want to show how people can, or almost encourage people to build the biggest enclosures they can. So just for example, and this is where we might get some people seeing this as controversial as well. Your 2 leopard geckos, what size enclosure are they in?
So it's a 4x2x2. It's the one from the oh no, it's not the one. It is the one that it's a vivarium that I did a little video on how to build a vivarium, but it wasn't the 4x2x2 from that video. But it's identical. It's a 4x2x2, which, to be fair, I don't think is particularly groundbreaking. I think, to be honest, I think that's pretty for 2 leopard geckos. This is where it might get a bit controversial.
That's what I mean.
There's 2 leopard geckos in there. Oh my god,
No god! No god!
Right.
Oh, right. Do you know what? Okay, I'll just leave. So there's 2 female leopard geckos in there, and we can go into them. That's absolutely fine. But it's a 4x2x2. And do they use it all? I believe they do. If you want to put any B-roll up of that vivarium, you'll see that. I think really the only way to show that vivarium is in my video, where I've put lots of hiding places in there. I've done a completely different way of ever doing vivariums in here anyway, and I've actually sort of buried tubs and used tubes, and really made just completely different zones inside this vivarium. So it's not just a corner that's just piled up full of earth, and they can just they can climb up onto that to bask. They've got a whole layer inside that to recreate these kind of intricate tunnel systems that they found in from the paper that I basically tried to copy for the build. Islamabad, it was based in Islamabad, which is a slightly more foresty. Well, it has a more foresty stuff like pine forests and stuff like that. Not just completely sheer rock desert face, which I know we can find them in. But I really tried to go down the more foresty route because I knew I could do this kind of intricate tunnel system, which, we've got actual papers written on that from people that have found that in the wild. So that was what I was going for. So
that's what I quite liked that, because I think you knew the shit show that was coming.
Yes.
The second you started, you knew it was coming. But what you basically did is, here we go. Let's get ready for it. Here's my workings out. You didn't even just say, "Oh, I've looked online and seen this." You actually quoted and put a link to the paper and the research you've done.
Yeah, 100%. And that build, I probably planned that was an empty vivarium for 8 months, 7 months maybe, because I just spent all this time just planning how I was going to build this kind of tunnel system and how I wanted it to work. And I knew that paper existed, and I'd already looked at it, and I was always on the that side of the fence for how to keep leopard geckos like that. But I wanted to really nail that how that paper describes that they were found, and how they live, and how they use their habitat and all that kind of stuff. And I just, every time I thought about it, I would make a little plan, then I would put it on the back burner because I'd sort of lose my bottle with building it, and that's it. It would get pushed to the bottom of the pile again. I'd build something else. And I actually built it really quickly, in terms of furnishing it and all that sort of stuff. And the tub idea, it really happened quite quickly, because it was just 7 months just ticking over in my brain going, how are we going to do this? How are we going to use that plan? And all of a sudden I was just right, I went to B&Q, bought all these tubs, and was like, bam, it's done. That's it, it's done. That turned out really well, actually. And the 2 females, I think luckily, well, I had a little bit of, so I don't really share my videos or anything like that, because it's a bit of a minefield now on Facebook and things like that. I just don't really bother, because each page is separate and all that sort of stuff. But has separate rules about links,
no cohabbing,
and just in general, like I just don't use I just don't use social media to promote it. I just leave the YouTube running as the YouTube and the Instagram, and I'm really just rubbish at Instagram, and and I'm not any interested in getting better at it either. So that video hasn't gone like mad, but when I did put just a picture of it up on advancing reptile husbandry, there was a couple of comments that were like, you can't do that, you can't, on that group you feel safe, you've got people behind you going, you can do it, you can do that, don't be so stupid. But the Instagram, the actual YouTube channel hasn't, well, the YouTube video never blew up in a way that I'm going to get all these people that are going, you can't do that. But I kind of prepared myself for it with the a disclaimer at the beginning, and that was the first time I used my video editing software in the actual shed as well. So I'm all like posing in the corner, like so leopard geckos. But in terms of actually cohabiting these girls, they have never not cohabited. So if we go right back to when I used to, when I lived in Essex, this is before I moved to Norwich and had a shed or anything like that. At the weekends, Monday to Friday, I was fixing lifts, and Saturday and Sunday, I was a reptile keeper in an aquarium. And it was horrendous. It was really hard to try and do it all at the same time and build enclosures and stuff like that. I did it for about a year. And one morning I was going around just doing waters, checking temperatures, things like that. And these two leopard geckos, we had a pair in there. She literally just popped out 2 eggs. And seconds, pretty much from me opening the door, I saw it happen. And I was like, where are these 2 eggs going to go then? So I took them home with me and incubated them. And ever since then, that was 8 years ago. Ever since then, from being in the incubator together as eggs, these girls have never been apart. So they've spent 8 years together, and I wouldn't even think of housing them separately now. They're just absolutely. They're just like my 2 girls in that vivarium. Nothing's ever happened to make me go, I shouldn't be. That's a bit questionable. Maybe I shouldn't do that. I should keep an eye on that. It's so easy. They both come up to the glass. One has a bit of food. One has a bit of food. That's it. It's so easy. It's like, and I can't believe there's people out there that say, you're doing it all wrong, because. Obviously, I am being cautious. I've got 8 years of being cautious now, and I just don't really see the issue with it. These, they've always had quite a big vivarium. They've never had a 4x2. They had a 3x2 originally, but it was piled up with hides and bark and all these different places for them to keep separate if they wanted to. But half the time they just share the same burrow tunnel system, and they're absolutely fine. I feel like I need to do a disclaimer now. I'm not saying that you should do that, but it's worked out fine. I'm really, really happy with the leopard gecko build and the way I keep them. Definitely.
Well, see, this is the thing. I mean, if anyone's going to know these animals, it's you. Like, you've had them for 8 years from the egg. Like, I'm pretty sure that in the first year, had you seen some dominance, some nipping, some chasing, some biting, things like that, you'd have gone, all right, maybe not, maybe this shouldn't. But if you've gone now 8 years without seeing any problems, I know the thing is, a lot of people's argument is it's okay until it's not. But then at what point At what point do you sort of go, maybe it is all right?
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
Is
And
it
when you've
after 3 years, 8 years, 4 years, never? You don't, you know.
exactly. And then, if you look at it from a different angle, when you're reading a paper from someone who's actually finding them out in the wild, and they've said, they live in communal groups and they share burrows and they have this intricate kind of system where, they'll have different areas and they'll go down and they'll have a place where they all do, where they do their poos and all that sort of stuff. Is it very fair that we keep them on their own? Like, we can prove that they live in social groups in the wild. If we did that with, apes in a zoo or something like that, they'd be called, inhumane. But yeah. So that is, it's just another form of enrichment. I think it helps, just keep this naturalistic vibe, and yeah, it's worked out fine. But you just have to just be as good a keeper as you can, and that includes not just making a really nice looking enclosure and functional, but it's actually monitoring your animals. If I had one, if all of a sudden one just went downhill and lost loads of weight, or anything like that happened, then obviously they'd be separated straight away. I've always said that about all my animals. I've got 2 crested geckos that live together, pretty much the same story as the leopard geckos. They've still got their tails, they've never fought, anything like that. There isn't that many crested geckos that I've seen that don't have full tails, and I've got these 2 living absolutely fine. And the same with the royals. Everything was always kind of prepared to separate if necessary. But I'm just trying to kind of provide bigger enclosures, and then that way maybe tap into that naturalistic kind of, this is how they live in the wild. They will meet other animals, but obviously I'm not doing that in a tiny little enclosure.
I mean, that's the thing. If you had 2 completely different animals that weren't, born, at the same time and grown up together, 2 completely different leopard geckos, and you chucked them in a 3x18x18 that had one basking spot, one hide, or like one hot hide, one cool hide, and one bowl of food, you're almost asking for trouble.
But
if you're providing a 4x2x2 with multiple burrows and hides and basking spots and food opportunities, climbing opportunities, hiding opportunities, then you do drop the likelihood of there being a problem. Now, again, this isn't either of us saying, so go ahead and cohab your leopard geckos. That's not what we're saying. Essentially, we're saying is it's feasible and doable if done correctly, safely, and monitored.
Yeah, definitely.
And like you say, if there's people that are out in the wild where they live that are writing papers and things like that and are saying everything you've been told is, well, not wrong, but everything we thought we knew is wrong, here's how it actually is in the wild. At the end of the day, people want to hit that naturalistic. They want to hit as close, like recreating wildlife. And if someone comes along and says, no, they can do, you just got to be careful and do this and that. Why is it up to the people of the internet to go, no, can't do it. No, you're a bad person. You shouldn't keep animals. Like, again, there's arguments for both sides. You've got to be careful. We're not condoning anything, but there's more to it than just yes or no. It's not black or white.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, you've had incredible success with yours living together, and by the looks of things, it's not going to change anytime soon. There's probably people watch it and they're like, oh yeah, but my friend's brother's sister's mum's daughter had 2 leopard geckos together, and they woke up one day and one of them was dead. Fine, it was probably a problem, and that's fine. Like, it happens, but it's not as black and white as people think. I don't think.
No, it's not. And I think that is applicable to the whole reptile hobby anyway. Like we are getting rid of that kind of, you can't do it like that, and this is how they've always lived, and this is how it's always worked, and that's it. Like, I'm not going to beat up anyone who doesn't keep their northern pine snake in a 6x4 3-foot vivarium just because I do it. You know, you can do exactly you can have all the enrichment opportunities and all that stuff in a smaller enclosure. I'm not gonna sit there and go, you shouldn't do that because this is how I've done it and it works. You know, it's just be a good keeper in all aspects.
Yeah, because one thing I'd noticed the further into the sort of reptile hobby I got is obviously when people are talking about beardies, leopard geckos, cresties, things like that, cohabbing, no, never, don't ever, not ever. And then when I started looking, started getting more into monitors. I mean, I've only got the one, but you start looking, don't you? You start following more monitor keepers and things like that. And no one bats an eyelid. Like, you can have an enclosure with 2 like tree monitors in it, for example, and no one questions it at all.
Yeah.
You can have an enclosure with, I don't know, for example, 2 roughnecks. I've seen it so many times. You know, you got a male and a female together and things like that. And no one bats an eyelid.
Yeah.
And yet, when it comes to leopard geckos, I don't know. It's a weird one because, like I say, when it comes to things like that, you'll get so many people just being like, "No, you're a bad keeper. You shouldn't keep reptiles." And you're like, "But where have you got that from?"
Yeah. And it could just boil down to the fact that they're a more popular pet. You're going to have more people. You're going to have more opinions, and you're going to always have that kind of keyboard warrior kind of person that, got told by the reptile shop 20 years ago that you can only keep your one leopard gecko on its own, and they're going to fight that fact to the death, rather than maybe do a bit of research and see how it goes. But I don't know, maybe I'm not a monitor keeper, so maybe they're slightly higher. I don't know. But there's no room for monitors in here. So
I was literally my next question was going to be: is that something you'd want to get into at all? Have you got, or is it literally just down to space?
It's down to space. Monitors are a tough one for me because I already look at a 6-foot snake in a 6-foot vivarium and go, you could do better than that, really, can't you? You could do better than that. Okay. And so I think I would probably beat myself up if I had. I would have to give them half a shed to feel comfortable. And the priority in this shed is to, like I said earlier, to basically give these guys the retirement that they deserve. They've all had pretty rough lives. So there's no plans. There's never been a plan for a monitor lizard. So I think the only exception to that possibly would be if one of them 6-foot ever came up. I've got quite a lot of old snakes. So if any of those 6-foots ever became free, maybe there's a space for like an Ackies, like some Ackies or a small thing like that. There is kind of a bit of there's a gap out here for kind of like a lizard with a big character. Okay. And I know a monitor would fill that space.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the moment there's no space, and there will never be. I don't think. So although I love them and really interested, but I would have to really redesign this shed to keep something like that. Oh, you've just got out.
yeah, that's all right. Ragnar's gone to bed. That's all right. Let the camera refocus. We'll be all right. But yeah, Ragnar goes to bed.
If they were luminized, that would have dimmed nicely.
Oh, mate, don't. Honestly, I was looking into it. I just cannot afford it right now. Like, I'm sure it's worth every penny, fine, but for Ragnar's enclosure especially, it's just not on the cards right now. If anyone else joins the Patreon link below, or anything like that, quite possibly. But at the minute, it's just because, to be fair, at the minute, I'm just trying to catch up with getting everyone on UVB in general.
Yeah,
as I'm sure you're aware. And here we go. If anyone's playing Riddler Reptiles Bingo, I've still got snakes in a rack, and I hate it. And obviously, at the minute, that's going to be one of my next builds. I'm going to start building the Vivs for the ones that I'm keeping, and I want everyone to be on overhead heat and UVB before I start doing much else. There's other possibilities, but I want to make sure that the ones that I've got are on, I guess, the bare minimum at least.
Yeah,
You know, I want overhead heat and UVB for everyone, which we're getting there, to be fair. Everyone that's in a Viv now, the milk snake, her T8 broke the other day, but it was a T8 anyway, so it was a bit shit. She needs UV. And that aside, everyone else that's in a Viv, including the Cresty and the Tokay, is all on UV now, which is good.
Yeah.
Like I say, my
cool.
husbandry, my keeping has really, really improved over the last year or so. But I've still got snakes in a rack that need to be put in Vivs that need overhead heat and UVB. So that's first.
Yeah.
That's the first plan. After that, potentially we'll start looking into some Luminize, which would be...
I can't do it.
Cool.
It is cool. So I'm halfway through a video. I've just installed it. Literally, when did I put Luminize? Yesterday or the day before.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah. Which enclosure was that?
That was so the whole idea for me to get the Luminize, it would be cool out in the shed, don't get me wrong, but I would have one vivarium doing, because I could only buy, a vivarium's worth at a time. So I'd have one vivarium ramping down, but I thought the best thing to test it out on was the Cresty vivarium.
Okay.
So that is like a 3x3. It's the 3x3 by 18 or something, the Viv Exotic thing that I've fully converted, and it's one of my prettiest ones at the moment, which is kind of, I was a bit umming and ahhing about it once I started to pull it all apart, because I was like, the plants are doing so well in here, and I'm now just about to rip all that lighting out and replace it with some stuff that I don't like, a smaller jungle dawn instead of a full fish tank light that I was using in there. I've always had a UVB in there, but I've gone down the whole like shade dweller, the smart shade dweller and the smart jungle dawn, and now it's the light is different, is focused differently inside the vivarium. But the idea behind putting the Luminize in there was because they're crepuscular. I was really interested to see how they would act while all that stuff was really quite dim and ramping down. Rather than just at the moment, that vivarium, they kind of find a good place to sit. They will bask because I've got halogen heat light in there, just a little Lucky Reptile mini sun that gives a little bit of heat in there. And I've got the UV, so they do cryptic bask and all that kind of stuff. But once they've found their space, they stay there all day and just hang out. Then the lights go out, and then they become a little bit more active. So what I'm hoping to see, and I haven't seen it yet because since installing it, I then went out for the night and never saw it. But since installing it, what I'm hoping to see is a little bit more activity during that kind of dusk period. When everything's, when all that UV is and the jungle dawn is really quite low. And what I plan on doing, this is why I haven't put the video out yet, because I've installed it all. I've got the video installing it and actually talking about the pros and cons, because I'm still not like mega impressed by it. If anything, I'd say they've got a tiny bit cheaper. There's a bit more plastic involved in these, and instead of like the metal clips and bits like that. So, before I put the video out, I want to do a bit about actually doing the settings exactly the same as what WeatherSpark says. Going through the UV index and the daylight temperatures, the daylight hours and all that kind of stuff. I can match it exactly to their native range. I think that's the cool part of it. So we can see on the WeatherSpark how much dawn and dusk they have, and then I can match that and try and get that dialed in. So that's quite cool. And then maybe sort of save like a summer and a winter kind of zone, even though it actually doesn't change that much over there. So I can have a few high 6 months of maybe slightly higher, slightly brighter, 6 months of slightly dimmer and stuff like that. So that's what I'm excited about. It would probably make for a great video if I did it with, a 6 foot pine snake, or it's 9 foot, a 9 foot pine snake and stuff like that. But, yeah, I'm actually, what I'm most excited about is doing the Cresties, and that kind of goes full circle with Norwich Reptile Shed, to be honest, because I've just pumped quite a lot of money and into this brand new state of the art equipment for 2 crested geckos. And that's kind of what I love. There isn't really, apart from maybe the boigers and the croc skink and some snakes, everything in it is pretty bog standard. And I'm trying to give them the life of luxury, and really put a lot of effort into what quite a lot of keepers, I think the wrong keepers, would consider not worth it. So we're still trying to get people to put UV light into their Cresties, and I'm out changing their UV to luminize.
Literally,
I didn't get it for free.
State of the art, literally like the state of the art, newly released, 10 years worth of research, I think it was something like that, or like in development. And you've just come along and gone, here you go, my little Cresties, where, like you say, some people don't even offer them the bare necessities. So it's good because you're leading by example. And I think that's and especially, I think what would be cool, unless you plan on doing so already, would be like a time lapse video of like when it's at full brightness, and then obviously a time lapse from when it starts ramping down and seeing if they're more active. And I think that would be cool. And then definitely. You can see firsthand what they're up to and whether it does affect them and shit like that. Like, I think that'd be so cool. But because the thing is, they do. Like, I recently built a new sort of basking spot for my tokay because it's got overhead heat, UVB, all of that, but there was too much of a gap between where she could bask if she wanted to or not. And I was like, well, I'll put one up anyway, just in case. I'm not sure if she even will use it. And I came in about 4 or 5 days later, and she was sat. In actual fact, I'll probably put it on B-roll here. She was sat on that basking spot during the day, heat and UVB just shining on this powder blue and orange lizard. And I just was like, yo, that is sick. And it just makes it so worth it. You know what I mean? Just these little things. Like, I've only just recently given the Cresty UVB. Like, I've not. Again, it's one of those because I've been upgrading as I go along, and then it wasn't until I was shown it's Arcadia, but it's the screw-in lamps, but obviously they're linear, they're not coil. So I bought a couple of them, and already I've seen a difference. You know what I mean? Just a little Cresty that cost me, I don't know, it was a little while ago now. I think we've had him for about 4 or 5 years as well. I don't know, it might have been 30, 40 quid just for a little Harlequin Cresty, possibly. I can't even remember, but that doesn't mean, just because the animal cost me less, that they deserve less. Definitely. I'll do the same for that Cresty if I can, that I do my roughneck monitor. Like, she's got overhead heat, UVB, this and that. So why should she go with that? In actual fact, that was one of the biggest things that came to mind when I was doing when I was looking at shutting down the rack, because I remember putting leopard because I had 2 leopard geckos before, and they each had a 3x18 by 18. But I was looking at it and I was like, these lizards are this big, and they're in a 3-foot enclosure, and I have 3 to 5 foot snakes in a box. What am I doing? You know what I mean? And I was looking at it, I was going, what am I doing? And that was one of the catalysts to get the job going. And I was like, and then I've sorted them out. They've got overhead heat, UVB, LEDs, things like that. And I'm just looking at these snakes and I'm like, you poor bastards, what have I done? But we're working.
Getting there. That's the important thing.
2 of them are in Vivs there. They've got overhead heat, UVB climbing opportunities, and they use it. That's going to be a future video of mine, actually. It's going to be showing. I'm hoping to get like a night vision camera, possibly, or something like that.
Yeah.
Do like an overnight time lapse of the snakes during the night.
Yep. That's it.
Because every time I come in here in the evening, because if I've got to pop in to take some chicken out to defrost overnight, or something like that, you know what I mean? Something silly like that. I'll always just have a little look just to see where everyone is.
Yeah.
Ragnar's usually tucked up in bed, and then I'll look at these snakes that are in here, and they're out, and they're climbing, and they're up high, and they're moving around, and they're stretched out, and you're like, where has this idea come from that they don't move?
No, it's mad.
Where has it come from? Like, I don't understand. Like,
that's it.
It's
mad. Yeah, if I look over at the Royals now, both of mine, bearing in mind we know this, I've covered this millions of times, they have heat 2 foot from the ground, exactly the same as a 4x2. If you put a lamp in a 4x2, the
Yeah.
heat is the same there as it is higher up, and they are both as high as they can be. So they are, if I measured that from the ground, they are 6 foot off in the air, and that's where they are. They're not actually out this evening. I think one's in shed, but
Okay.
but yeah, they it's absolutely nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But with the night vision camera, that's kind of what I did as well. Although I didn't use it for footage for a video, I really had to. This is all. I mean, I don't remember the exact times now because it was sort of like going back 2 years. But just to have, pardon me, I needed so many months. I think I actually had 9 months of like evidence from the Royal Pythons. The fact that they did climb and they used it all at night. They didn't, the male wasn't chasing the female round and constantly, trying to breed with her or anything like that. So I watched them for 9 months with just like a camera, like looking into the vivarium that had night vision. And I'd just be laying in bed, just every now and again, if I was, if I'd wake up in the middle of the night or whatever, I'd just be looking and seeing what happened and going back and all that sort of stuff. So I just had months and months of footage or of evidence that there's nothing going on. I didn't just chuck them in and go, this all works. Everyone should do this. And obviously now it's been like 2 years, I think. And and it's still just ticking over. Everything's absolutely fine. And so but yeah, definitely, and so go back to the crested geckos. That's exactly what I want to do as well. But I will try and make it so I can put it on a video because they do come out and they do bask. And I don't know if you provide heat for your cresties? Yeah. So they bask in heat. So it's just my heart goes out to the ones that have barely just got a tiny little heat mat maybe stuck to the bottom of the glass somewhere. But I put halogen heat light in there, and it's only set to sort of 26 degrees. I use like a 20-watt mini sun in there, and it never goes out until it's the summer. So it's just on all day, just ticking over. And those guys are actively seeking that heat. Or that heat and that UV combo, it's all up there. But yeah, it's just amazing. I love watching that. Yeah, it's brilliant.
See, that's what's so good about the reptile hobby as well. It's like, you don't actually need a massive monitor lizard. You don't need Burmese python to be able to sit there and enjoy how these species act and behave and things like that. You can get a little cresty in, one of these little exoterrors, and you can sit and enjoy them. I mean, the only time they ever annoyed us was we had them for a little while because the cats kept trying to get into the enclosure. We had them in our bedroom for a little while. Now, when you're trying to sleep and you can hear rustling, and when they jump onto the glass and you just hear this thud, you're just there going, and then all of a sudden, it's on the floor, and then it's rustling, and then it's hunting for a locust, and then it's jumping to the other side of the glass. You're like, I didn't realise you could be so noisy.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what fudds more than that. So I've got a stand-in day gecko. So I've got in my lounge, I've got 3 foot by 3 foot vivariums. 2 are the Viv Exotics, and then the one in the middle is a Exoterra, 90 by 90 by 45. Yeah. And the crest, the stand-in day geckos in the middle of that because I've gone down the slightly more tropical route for housing this guy, he hits that glass, and it's almost, I swear he does it because they're not thick. I swear he does it as like you haven't given me crickets for a while, and he slaps that glass. The cresties do it as well. But what I love about the cresty vivarium, like you said, you can put them in an Exoterra and just a real simple lizard. But I would add an extra bit to that and say, it's a real simple lizard, but you can go nuts on an enclosure. And watching a crested gecko jump like 2.5 foot from a branch to a branch is really cool. And I find myself looking. Obviously, they're in my lounge, so I'm going to look at them more. But I look at these guys more than I would sit down and just stare at Mr. Pine. You know,
Yeah.
like he's a big snake and he's pretty, and you know he looks slightly different because of the keeled scales. So you know he's got more like that rattlesnake appearance. That's
cool.
really,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, that's
That is
really cool. But I don't sit there and stare at him. But
Yeah.
the crested geckos, I would, you know, quite often just sit there with my head turned, watching them. Yeah, it's nuts. So yeah, it's all about just like, you know, loving the stuff you've got, and there is no like this one's better, and you know, that's just a cresty. You should don't even think about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I hate all that. Yeah.
See, you've hit on a good point as well, because like you say, you know, you've got them in a, what is it, 3x3?
It's 3 foot by 3 foot, and then I believe it matches up to the 45 deep Exoterra. So I think that's 18 inches.
Yeah,
I believe, yeah.
But it's one of those where, all right, if you go to a reptile shop, the owner isn't going to say, yeah, you need to put your cresty in a 3-foot enclosure. Now, here's the thing. What they're going to say is you don't need to. So they'll obviously say, here's the bare minimum, you know, your whatever it is, what is it, your 45 by 45 by 60 or something like that, whatever the bare minimum is. But that doesn't mean you have to keep the animal in that bare minimum.
No, I'm sure that I'd hope that they would love for you to buy the bigger, more expensive vivarium.
Yeah,
you know, that's what I'd really, really hope.
But I think a lot of people look at that and they go, oh, all right, that's cool, that'll do. And it almost doesn't, like, again, this isn't attacking anyone. It might not even come to mind that, hang on a second, even though it's this big, I could put it in something a lot bigger. Like my tokay, she's by herself at the minute, but she's in a 2 foot wide, 2 foot deep, 4 foot tall.
Yeah.
By herself.
Yeah.
And I have filled that out. I've given it a, what's it called? Like a, air circulation and things like that. It's got everything basically. It's got plants, it's got places to hide, and she'll come out as well. Cork tubes, all of that, and she uses it. But she's only this. All right, she's bigger than a cresty, but she's only this big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, hang on a second, that's sick, because you can see like these behaviors, and where, you know, at one point she'll be basking on that ledge, and then on another time she'll be in a cork tube, and then on another time she'll be in between the sort of other uprights and things like that. And I'm hoping at some point soon to get her a male as well, because obviously tokays can live communally. They make their little families, don't they? And which is cool. Like,
definitely
buzzing. Like the fact that like they pair up and things like that, and I might come in one day to little baby tokays in there is sick. But I look at it and again, that was another one of those things. I was like, I've got a lizard that's this big in a 2x4x2. I think I always used to call it a 4x2x2, but I know that's the ones that are on their side. But we know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, but give your snakes better. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it again. But you see what I'm saying? Like the more I get into the hobby and the more I do my own builds, the more because the Viv that she's in is a Repti breeze that was for a chameleon, but I've converted it into obviously like more of a tropical housing. So I've got rid of the netting and I put perspex in instead, and it's worked really nicely. Like that video is doing quite well as well. To be fair, like that's another one that's doing quite well. And it didn't cost me. All right, fair enough. The Viv was free. That's fine. Like not everyone's going to find that. The perspex cost me, I don't know, 50 quid maybe. I think for all of that. I siliconed it in. I put a background in. I did all of that. I don't think that entire Viv and setup cost me any more than 120 quid, maybe. Yeah. At a push.
But then listen, look back at just how excited you were about it as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I use the Viv Exotics for that outside, and I for in the lounge. And I waterproofed them. That was really the test for the waterproofing stuff that I do. And that's it's Viv Exotic vivariums aren't particularly expensive anyway. Most reptile shops are selling them online for cheap. On a deal most of the time. So you could probably get a Viv. I don't know exactly, but I would imagine you can get a Viv Exotic 3x3 for a very similar price to a Exoterra that's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's just a case of, you know, doing a few things that the average person can do. You ain't got to be a master carpenter to cut a big hole in it and put a heat lamp in it. And,
Yeah. Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and silicon some plastic to it to stop it rotting. You know, that's what I do. So
Yeah.
it's good. Yeah, definitely.
So when it comes to your builds, whether it's like the conversions or the builds themselves, what's your favorite part of the process? Is it the plan, or is it the end product, or anything in between?
It's definitely the decoration stage.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. My worst part is staining or painting,
Right.
anything like that. I don't
Yeah.
enjoy that. That bores the hell out of me. I'm so bored of painting all this stuff brown because everything's like 2 coats of stain and then 1 coat of varnish, and it just takes forever, especially when you're doing something like, you know, these 6 foots all in one go. And it just takes forever. And I get, the minute I've got a paintbrush in my hand, I'm bored.
That's
So
not a good way to start, is it?
No, and yeah, I find that doing the rock work is a bit of a sort of labor of love, I suppose. It really takes it out of you when you're doing like a 6 foot long one. So that's a bit, but yeah, I think my goal and what I really like doing is sort of trying to create. I always refer back to photos of like natural habitats and stuff, or areas and forests, and I try and pick something that I really like, and then I go for that, and that's what I really like doing. You know, all the wood and the plants and things like that. So yeah, that's my favorite part of it, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not actually the cutting of the wood and all that stuff. That when I luckily I haven't got to do anymore, but when I used to get these 6 foots delivered, it was like I think they take, how many, what is it, 1 2 3 4 5 6, I think it's 8 sheets of wood, like 4 by 8 foot sheets of wood, and it's just heavy, and it's, you know, I'm always doing it in the cold. I always decide to build them in the winter, and so it's not cutting the wood or anything like that. It's the last stage, I think, is the most enjoyable. Yeah,
I'll be honest, I'm going to be cheating a little bit when I start on the Royal Enclosures, because I've already measured them out. I've looked at B&Q. I know I'm going to get the 18 mil plywood and this and that and the sizes, and I've managed to draw out exactly what my sizes need to be on that one sheet, for example. But obviously B&Q cut wood for you, don't they?
Oh, mate, definitely.
So I'm probably going to take them the piece of paper, and I'm going to go, I'd like that, please.
yeah, 100%. I don't blame you. And they'll do a nicer cut. You know, I'm still, I don't know how many sheets of plywood I've cut. I'd hate to know how many sheets of plywood I've cut. And I still, you know, like things slip, marks move, and you know, and you can mess it up. But if you go into B&Q and get it cut, then that's not cheating. That's the proper way to do it. That's the professional way.
I quite enjoy the building stage though, like actually putting it together, because you've got these flat pieces of wood, and then however long later, all of a sudden you've got a box that you're going to have an animal living in. I don't even just that bit. Like, I'm looking forward to, because this is the first one that I'm going to be doing. I don't want to say properly. I did do a DIY build years ago when I first had my very first leopard gecko, but I didn't know where to get the runners for the glass. So I just used like thin pieces of wood. It worked. It just wasn't great. But this one's going to be like the first ever proper DIY build for me.
Nice.
And I'm buzzing for it. Like Ragnar's enclosure hasn't got any sliding glass, so I had to obviously build a door, and I had to install the glass myself. So it was good fun. But this is going to be my first like Viv build, almost like a standard Viv, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it. I nearly went out today. I very nearly went out to B&Q today, but I was like, I still haven't finished a couple of other projects. That's my problem. What I'll do is I'll start something, I'll get it nearly done, and then I'll go, I wanted to do that as well, actually. I'm going to go out and do that. And before you know it, the utility room's a mess. Outside is a mess because I've been cutting wood again. And then inside is a mess because I've been moving things around. And so luckily I was quite good today, and I finished off Ragnar's Viv. So, for example, I moved the UV, I moved the LED, and I've put it at like a 45-degree angle to face the basking spot instead.
Yeah.
What else did I do? I finished installing the like the misting unit as well, and I've just had all these things that I've been doing, and it looks good, and I'm really happy with how it is. But I was still this close to just going.
Start
I
something
could
new.
just pop to B&Q quick, but
Yeah.
but the thing is, the problem is because I get impatient. I'm like, but if I go and do it today, I can get it done. Well, I can't because my runners haven't turned up yet. And
Yeah.
then when my runners turn up, it's only then that I can measure for my glass. So I
Yeah.
don't know who I think I'm kidding.
It all
that I don't get
takes
it
so
done.
long. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like, I'm so impatient, man.
I do that all the time, and I'll film this video and be like, "Oh, I've got to wait 2 weeks now for glass." So that's that. Yeah, and I got quite impatient with the leopard gecko one. It's the first time I didn't use toughened glass. I just used standard float glass, and it came in like 2 days, just so because I was so excited to get them in the vivarium. I was like, do you know what? It's going in like that. If I swing around and smash the glass with a hook one day, I'll deal with that. But that's we went for that. But yeah, it takes so long, and that's half the trouble with this as well. It all just each step takes you've done one coat of stain, and that's it for the day. And then you build the background and you do like one coat of grout, and that's it for the day. And then you've got to do another. And so things do take so long, which is I think that's why I like doing the decoration stage so much, because it all just comes together and it's done.
And you can hit it, in one hit as well. You don't have to mess around, and because like you say, it's like silicon stages and things like that. Like you can't put the silicon in and not let it dry and then start carrying on and then whack the animal in it. So you got to do that. Like people have really picked up on how impatient I am. Like because there was a video I did recently, and I was like, right, here we are, day 2. And someone in the live chat or the comments afterwards like, day 2? What, you actually waited an entire day to carry on? I was like, I had to. I had no choice, because if I put the animals in at that point, they'd have died. So it didn't work out. But yeah, once I get going, that's it. I have to get it done. A to B, I have to get it finished. But sometimes I just have to stop and go, well, you can't. Like I say, this next build, I've got to actually start dismantling the rack where it's going to go as well. Again, I nearly just took the crowbar to it. Why? Where's it going to go? I would have just been stood in this mess of wood and like plasterboard and things like that. And then I've just gone, well, now what? There's no point, but I'm so impatient. I'm just there going, I could just start smashing it up now, but there's no point. But so a lot of people probably don't build their own vivs or do DIY enclosures and things like that because they think they can't do it. Like, I've never built anything, I've never converted anything, it's not my thing. What would you say to people that maybe want to do so but almost don't have that belief in themselves to do so?
I don't think it's definitely not as hard as what people think it's going to be. Like you said earlier, you're going to get the woodcut at B&Q. I personally think that's the biggest problem. That's the one thing that I think puts everyone off. Because once you've got that wood cut, it's just a case of drilling some holes and screwing stuff in. And I think buying, one drill that can drill a hole and put some screws in, one cordless drill, a cheap cordless drill, you're pretty much there. That's the only tool you really need to build these things.
We can pick those up in the middle aisle of Lidl now, can't you?
Exactly. You can definitely do it. Although I use Milwaukee, even though I'm not sponsored by Milwaukee, even though I'm asked. You don't have to use Milwaukee tools all the time. But yeah, definitely. I don't know. I don't know if I have particularly any advice to give to try and motivate someone to do it. The only thing I think the biggest motivation would probably be the cost of it. It's significantly cheaper to build these vivariums. Like I've gone into it with Liam at Reptiles and Research before, where we added it up, and because I don't work in a shop, I don't know really what the going price for custom vivariums are anymore. But if you wanted to buy, like a 6x, these ones all behind me there are 6 foot long, 3 foot tall, and then 2.5 foot deep. it's a bit of a rubbish size. You are going to waste quite a lot of wood doing that. But if you built a normal, 6x2x2 or 6 by something, and maybe didn't go 2.5 foot, that's the killer. But you can definitely build that cheaper with a few sheets of wood than you'd get one custom built for you. And then it's just that's what I think I've covered pretty much every step of the way multiple times on my channel, and that's what I'm hoping people will find. Even to the point where I was like, I'm going to do a video specifically on measuring glass. And really make it as easy as possible, because I still get scared when I measure glass. And I think I worked it out recently. I've had 17. I don't think I'm in my 20s yet. I think I've ordered 17 custom pieces of glass for all the builds in here. And every single time I still get them. And the minute I've got them, I'm like, I need to go and try them in the Viv, because I don't trust that I've measured that right. And it's only come and bitten me in the arse a couple of times. On the Royal Viv, which was the most expensive glass because it's 6mm thick and it's massive, I had to drop the whole plinth down like 10mm or 5mm or something, because it just, I think I dropped it down. I can't remember which way I went, but I went to put it in the hole and was like, it don't fit. And then I've got this massive sheet of glass. I'm like, it don't fit. But there was so much adjustment on that vivarium, because it's not one of these where it's just plinths. The first one I ever built, actually, fun fact, was Mr. Pines down there. The first bit of glass never fitted. And I had to go along with a circular saw and cut like 3mm off the plinth, because it was already glued in and screwed in and waterproofed and everything like that. So I went along and just sliced a bit of wood rather than getting a new bit of glass made. I sliced it along. So after that, I've kind of perfected, I think, my technique for measuring glass, but it's still scary. But
of course it is.
But yeah, in terms of like motivation, I think costs should be one. And I don't think, if you were going to go out, what I really want to do, and this is going to be a video, except I think I might have to give the vivarium away once I've built it. But I keep planning this in my head. I want to do a 1-sheet vivarium. So it will be basically 4x2x2. It'll be maybe a couple of centimeters shorter on all of those dimensions. But I think I've worked it out that I can get that out of 1 sheet of wood. And because all my vivariums that I've built up till now have quite a lot of waste. And my actual video, this is the one thing that I kick myself for. The video that shows you how to build a 4x2x2. I built that with scraps, and I made it very clear in the video, this is all built with scraps. So I don't tell you how many sheets of wood to go and buy, because if you did, you'd need a tiny piece of wood out of a board to make up that difference, to make it exactly 4x2x2.
Let me show you something quick whilst we're on this subject.
Yeah, go for it.
There you go. Look. Hang on, is it going to focus?
Oh,
that's with one sheet of 18mm plywood.
Right. Have you accounted?
It's not a 4x2x2.
No, yeah. Have you accounted for your saw blade?
I haven't, but only because obviously B&Q are going to do it, so we'll do it in sections. But there is this much waste on the side. I don't know if that's going to. So there's that waste on the side.
Yep.
And then this on the bottom as well. So there is wastage there that can be sort of accounted for with the blade.
Okay, that's all right then.
But that is 1 sheet. What is it? I think it's 2.4 meters long by 1.2.
Yeah.
2.44. 18mm, 40 quid from B&Q.
Yeah, that's it.
It cost me 40 quid just for the wood. But then, like you say, if you were to get a custom built Viv, to size or things like that, it's going to cost you much more than 40 quid.
Oh yeah, and you can add like what's glass going to cost you for that? Tops sort of 30 to 40 quid for a bit of float glass, and the runners are crazy expensive for what they are.
Yeah,
That's the only thing that's not cheap at the moment, really. I almost brought just like meters of 100 meters of them just because I hated how much they were. And I would have used them if I did that at the start. I would have used them. But you're still going to be quids in for like about 100 quid.
I think so.
And you cannot buy a good vivarium for. You might be able to buy a Viv Exotic that's close to their measurements, but they're you know, it isn't going to last nowhere near as long.
Yeah.
Someone did ask me recently, like, you know, how long will your 18 millimeter plywood vivariums last? And I'm like, they're not going anywhere. They're just not going anywhere. You know, if you waterproof them and you seal them and you've varnished them and stained them, they're not going to go anywhere. They're going to outlast the animal, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I like that plan. So that's good. That's exactly what I was thinking of doing. The only thing I wouldn't do, the only thing that it would, I suppose I could do a whole new bank of them, but it's going to play with my mind that I've got one Viv that's just slightly smaller in all dimensions than everything else that's standard. And I always keep my spares. I've got like a whole pile of wood up there. With vivariums. So I've always got like bits that I know I can cut a 4x2 sheet out of. But it just doesn't help the general public, I think, in making a vivarium. So you're on the right track there, definitely. And if you're going to do a video of that, that's great. Yeah.
I think when I did, because I tried doing the same to build a 4x2x2, and I think it fit perfectly apart from the plinths. And I was just sat there, like it literally, it had the top, the bottom, the back, the sides. And then I was just finishing, and I was just like, oh, that's just not. I don't, you're sat there going, do I need the plinth?
Well, that's
what you do.
Yeah, and I almost thought of I thought of like getting one sheet of wood and then like a length of timber for like a $5 and using the timber as the plinths. And that would be instead of buying a whole. Or like you can buy like half sheets of wood, but that would just save on buying that bit of wood just for some plinths. But that's why I wanted to go like what you've done, go a little bit smaller in all them dimensions to get that extra bit to get the plinth. And you'll be fine. As long the only advice I'd give you is as long as you have got waste on all on the long side and the short side. If you've got waste that side, then because your saw blade adds up. All them saw cuts add up. It might only be 3 mil or whatever, but they add up. And you might find that when you start to join something and maybe you put the back in, that's like 3 millimeters or 6 millimeters shorter than you planned, and it all of a sudden you've got a massive gap that you need to fill with silicone. That's my only advice, is to plan for the width of the blade. So I always cut. I don't want to teach you how to suck eggs.
All right.
So when you do a pencil mark on a piece of wood, you need to be aware of what side of that pencil line you cut on. So that's what I always do, and that's what I always plan with my vivariums as well, because they start to add up, and especially when you're putting like a plinth in. And it gets a little, and it's too short. That's the worst thing. When it's too long, it's fine. When it's too short, it's the worst thing.
Yeah. Excellent. And the last question I've got for you then is, what's your favourite build that you've done?
My favourite build, probably. I mean, from a whole like just walking in and being super impressed and really liking it, it's going to be the Royals. And it's actually, I think my favourite is the Royals with the combination of the tortoise enclosure. That makes it feel, for me, exactly what I always wanted to do, was it to feel like a reptile house in the zoo. And having to stand in the tortoise enclosure while working on the vivarium of the Royals. And then also lifting up like a sliding door that so the tortoise can leave and go out down a ramp and have her own outdoor pen. That to me just elevates it past how I've always kept reptiles in a room. And like that to me is just sort of just gone over the edge and just gone, man, you've tried your hardest to make a reptile shed, a reptile house here.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that corner and how that all looks.
Yeah.
In terms of my favorite vivarium, because the Royal Vivarium doesn't thrive. That's a pain in the ass to keep going.
Okay.
They're constantly killing plants. I'm constantly fighting, which is why recently I installed all the LED because I never had really great lighting in there.
Okay.
So I spent a bit of money and put the LED, the 2 jungle dawns in there and floodlit the whole thing.
Nice.
And fitted a misting system. That's the next video coming out. Actually, I've got a misting system in there now. But I think for the vivarium that I really enjoy the most looking at is the Cresty vivarium that I've got. That thing is just, you'll see in the video, but that's just done really well with the plants.
Nice.
Something just happened. The soil worked, the lighting worked, the misting system keeps everything going, and nothing seems to struggle. And I've got some really nice sort of philodendrons in there that are doing really well. So I'm really happy with that. So I don't think I've got just one, but yeah. There's a few.
Excellent. No, that's cool. I really enjoy your videos, and I do like the builds that you do, because like I say, it just goes to show that it can be done. You know what I mean? Like if you want to get it done, you can do it. Like, it's all right. Not everyone is skilled with a saw or a drill or something like that. Some people have basically got 2 left hands, but it is doable, and it's always
possible.
worth a go. Yeah,
it's definitely possible. 100%. Yeah. You've got to give these things a go.
Absolutely. And like I say, you might even end up getting the taste for it as well, because I love doing it now. I really enjoy like building stuff. I'm not a carpenter. I'm supposedly an electrician. But if I could do it all over again, I'd go into carpentry all day, every day. But I just quite enjoy it. And you never know. Like, if you put your hand to something, you might be good at it and you might enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah. And at the end of the day, even if your corner is a bit wonky and you've had to put a little bit of a thicker bead of silicone here and there, your animal isn't going to care. Your animal's got a bigger enclosure that you've put love into, and you can make so many more possibilities for that animal. Everything benefits. It hasn't got to be perfect, and nothing in here is perfect. Let's get that clear. I'm not a master carpenter. I'm not a carpenter. Everything's a bit rough and ready. That's why it's a shed. So definitely don't be scared to foul, and
also you learn for next time as well.
100%. Yeah.
Like you say, if you get your blade, your blade positioning wrong on the first one, you go, oh, for God's sake, it's just too short. Next time you're going to come to that and go, aha, remember this side, and that's it. That's all
exactly.
it takes. And they're just going to get better and better.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, before I let you go, have you got any questions for me at all?
Have I got any questions for you? What colour are you going to stain your new vivarium?
It's a very good question. I'm hoping to find something as close as possible to the ones I've currently got, which I haven't stained. They are, what brand are these? I can't even remember. They're not Viv Exotics. What's the other ones?
I
can't even remember.
I can't remember now. No.
Not Monkfield, are they? Possibly.
It could be, yeah.
Potentially, I can't remember. But anyway, they're obviously not the pre-made ones, but like the ones you put together. And I don't know if they're oak. I'm not sure. But what I want to do is I want to try and keep them as close to that as possible. Now, to be fair, whether it's after this or tomorrow or at some point, I will be asking your advice on obviously the colour and the varnishing and all of that. I'm
a dark walnut guy over here.
Oh yeah, they do. They're quite nice. I do like this.
This is all dark walnut, and it looks very similar to Serpa design, but I'm not copying.
But yeah, so I think I'm going to try and match it as close as possible. But then I say that Ragnar's is black.
Yeah.
So you've got oak and you've got black. So I don't know. They might have to be one or t'other of those. I don't really want to mismatch. I know it's not a problem, but I'll probably try and get as close to the oak as possible. But that's going to be me stood in B&Q going, like, looking at my phone and then looking at the stain colours and then and I'm just going to be there for like 15 minutes going, I don't know what to do.
And then you're going to paint it on. It's going to look completely different to the tin.
Yeah. I'll go, this is the one. This is the actual one. And then, you paint it on and you go, well, that was a waste of my life, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be doing that. I'm hoping to get on with that soon. But then, like we say, at time of recording, I'm hoping this one will go out quite soon, but it's nearly Christmas. That's the concern. It's a little bit tougher to get out into the garden and put a viv together.
Oh man,
and
it's horrible. Yeah,
demolish
that's why
stuff and
yeah,
spend money
definitely.
as well. So yeah, there is that. Tell you what, the milk snake has been very active this evening, and that's why I enjoy having them in here now. That's cool. Sorry, I digress. But yeah, so I think that's going to be coming soon. But yeah, I'll probably be dropping you a message at some point with regards to stain and varnish and things like that.
You wouldn't be the first to ask about stain brands and varnishes, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. All right, well, if you want to tell everyone, unless you've got any more questions, or are you happy?
I'm pretty happy, mate. Yeah,
happy?
I'm good. I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Well, obviously, all of your details will be in the information or the whatever below. What's it called?
Description.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not even going to cut that out because it's funny. But do you want to let everyone know what platforms you're on and maybe what you're most active on, things like that, where they can find you?
Of course, yeah. So I've got the YouTube channel is pretty much where it's all at. And then for just general updates and random photos and bits like that, I do have an Instagram and I do have a Facebook page, and they're pretty much tied together. So don't do the TikToks or anything like that.
You're not doing any dances with your snakes or anything like that?
No dances with the snakes. No. But yeah, YouTube, which is just Norwich Reptile Shed. Instagram, Norwich Reptile. Everything's Norwich Reptile Shed. Made it as easy as possible. Head over to the Instagram. Give me a follow. If you want some stickers, all that kind of stuff, just drop me a DM. And all good.
Epic. Excellent. Well, thank you for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like I say, this has been a very enjoyable one for me because, DIY is what you do and it's something that I quite enjoy as well. So, and it's something different as well, it's always good. We can talk about reptiles all day, but I do quite like the different, almost like niches with people as well.
Yeah.
There's more to there's more to what we do than just keeping reptiles.
Exactly. Yeah, the housing is pretty important.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. But no, it's been a pleasure, mate. So thank you very much. And
thank you, mate.
Yes, and I'm sure we will catch up very shortly. For everyone that's watched, thank you very much. Appreciate you all. Obviously, like I say, go and follow Jamie, Norwich Reptile Shed. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, please do so. Any likes, comments, all of that, all of the good stuff as per usual. But otherwise, we will see you in episode 5 after this one. So take it easy, everyone, and peace out.
See you later.